Straight out to Steve Gibson, news director, KQMS. Steve, what happened that night?
What happened that night is mostly shrouded in mystery at this point because the Shasta County Sheriff's Office has released very few details. What we know is that Karen was found by her husband, Mark Duenas, at 1 a.m. on that morning of May 5th. He reported a large gash in her chest.
Whoa. Steve Gibson, KQMS, you said Mark Duenas, that's the husband?
Yes.
So the husband finds his wife brutally stabbed to death, and I assume their joint bedroom. They're still married. They're about to celebrate their wedding anniversary, right?
Yes, their wedding anniversary was yesterday.
So the husband finds the wife dead, and he calls it in at 1 a.m., Steve Gibson?
Correct. And
where's he been till 1 a.m., Steve? I'd like to know that. If my husband dragged in with the cats at 1 a.m., I'd be a little concerned. Why is he just finding his wife dead in the bedroom at 1 a.m.? Where has he been all night?
The Sheriff's Department has refused to respond to questions of whether he was there and woke up and discovered her, whether he came home from elsewhere and discovered her, or just what the circumstances were of his discovery.
All right, for all I know, Steve, you worked the night shift. Go ahead.
Pardon me?
For all I know, he worked the night shift. Go ahead. He comes home. He finds her. He calls 911. This is 1 a.m. Then what happens?
He called 911, said there's blood everywhere. His wife has a large gash in her chest, and he does not know what happened to her.
A large gash in her chest. It's my understanding, Victoria Taft, radio talk show host, joining us, KPAM. It's my understanding that she had multiple stab wounds in addition to that one gash to the chest that Steve Gibson's describing.
Well, that's right. That's an interesting point, too. He knew there was a gash in the middle of her chest, and he also told the 911 operator there was blood everywhere. I don't know. If there's that much blood, I'm not sure how you can tell how many gashes or where the blood is coming from at times. Perhaps it was obvious. But we found out later, after an autopsy, that in fact there were multiple stab wounds, Nancy.
You know what? To Dr. Bill Mannion, medical examiner, joining us tonight out of Salem. Dr. Mannion, Victoria Taft is right. I've seen a lot of murder scenes where at first you can't tell the cause of death, the COD. You can't tell whether it's a gunshot wound. You can't tell if it's a stabbing, whether it's multiple stabbing, multiple gunshot wounds, until the body is cleaned up. When there's a lot of blood, you really can't tell. But when you get in there, Dr. Mannion, what can you tell specifically? I want to hear, Dr. Mannion, what you can determine about the murder from stab wounds. What can you learn?
Well, we can tell if the knife has one edge or the knife has a double edge by looking at the wound. Most knives are single edge, so one end of the wound will have a sharp point that ends. The other end of the wound will have a flat, wide, maybe a 2 millimeter type of impression. So first of all, we can tell if it's single edge or double edge. Next, we measure the depth of the wounds, and that'll give us some idea of how long the blade is. The knife handle, if it's plunged in all the way, the handle will strike the skin and oftentimes leave a mark on the skin itself. So I would look for a wound like that to get a good idea of how long that particular knife was.